Oh, to go to.
It's one of those afternoons. Okay. So, members of the media, thank you very much for joining us here this afternoon. I think most of you will know Executive Member and Treasurer, Mr. Dominic Gaskin, and of course, right next to me is Leader of the Alliance for Change, Mr. Kamaraj Ramchan, and we're going to start off with Mr. Ramchan, and then we will ask Minister Gaskin to share a few comments. And of course, protocol is that we're happy to answer any questions you may have. Just identify yourself and your media house before. So, yeah, would be good to make sure we turn off the volume on our phones. And Mr. Ramchan, over to you.
Thank you, members of the press. I will read two short statements and two matters that I think the Alliance for Change must address. And one is the AFC's position on the joint statement that was issued by the US, UK, and the European Union. In a democratic order, all manner of interpretations and opinions of judgments will come from all quarters. That the CCJ never ordered in its consequential orders that elections must be held on or before the 18th of September, but instead indicated that it must be held at the earliest opportunity when the various stakeholders are ready, one such being GCOM, makes this position of the US, UK, and the European Union very unfortunate. Additionally, we remind all that the Chief Justice, Roxanne George, discredited the assertion that the CCJ settled on a drop-dead date of 18 September 2019 for the next elections. But we respect the diplomats' desire and right to express their opinion on the issue. It is to be noted that Canada has stayed away from signing on. We also note that the opposition is utilizing this joint statement to up the ante in protest and demonstrations and for propaganda purposes. We are comforted by the fact that the joint statement did not say anything of the coalition government being illegal. The US, UK, and European Union will remain extremely cordial friends of the AFC and the coalition government. In any event, now that the 18th has come and gone with no elections, the only way of resolving this so-called breach is to call the elections at the soonest possible time, and that will be soon called. On the AFC's position on the timeline for elections, I wish to state this. The AFC welcomes the chairman of GCOM's announcement that GCOM will be able to deliver credible elections by the end of February 2020. It will also welcome an announcement from His Excellency President Granger as to the date of that next general and regional elections. The party is of the view that all constitutional requirements have been adhered to by the government and the President thus far. The next constitutional requirement to ensure that the elections 2020 are held without being challenged is the requirement to get approval by 2/3 majority of the National Assembly, as is required by Article 106(7). We will urge the opposition to ensure formal constitutionality of that elections by giving its support in the Assembly to the extension now needed for the new set date. The opposition must not be seen to be frustrating this necessary parliamentary support.
Okay, thank you very much. And can I ask us to go to Treasurer and Executive Member Mr. Gaskin? I know many of you might be interested in the where we are with the Cummingsburg Accord. And as you know, Minister David Patterson is the person that has been that can speak to some of the issues. We are hoping that he will join us in another 20 minutes, but or as soon as he can. But I know Mr. Gaskin had some comments in that context.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. As was just told to you, Minister David Patterson and Minister Paul Lawrence are the agreed upon spokespersons for our negotiations between the AFC and the APN on the Cummingsburg Accord. So I don't want to tread on that turf. However, I have noticed a number of attacks on the AFC in the media over the last 2 weeks or so, which I believe are deliberately intended to undermine the AFC's position during its coalition negotiations. And I just wanted to reiterate the AFC's position on coalition government. Our party believes that coalition governments represent the future of politics in Guyana. We have always been a proponent of constitutional reform, in which we have advocated for post-election coalition. However, in the absence of a constitutional amendment to facilitate such post-elections coalition or the formation of a coalition after elections, we have to settle for and we have to make pre-election coalition work. And this is slightly different to the post-election coalition, in which parties can come together after the election, after they would have attained a known number of votes and a known quantity of seats in the National Assembly, and they can then have some discussions or negotiations based on known numbers. What we currently have are discussions that are based on coalition governments that are formed before the election, where the parties have to run or contest the elections on a joint slate. And these elections are, or these coalitions have to, first of all, agree on a number of things without the benefit of having been tested at the polls. We don't want to enter into any sort of speculation as to our value, what we bring to the table. I think our record stands for itself. We've taken part in elections in 2006. We've taken part in elections independently again in 2011. You can check the records. You know what we bring to any coalition government. However, I think it's important to note that coalition governments do have an important role to play going forward, especially given Guyana's political context, where traditionally we have had two major political parties, both unfortunately gaining most of their support from one or the other of our major ethnic groups. And we feel that the outcomes of these of successive governments under that sort of arrangement have always left one major ethnicity in Guyana feeling excluded. We believe that with coalition governments, there's a remedy for that particular problem, which has hindered our nation's development over the last few decades. We think that these elections coming, the stakes are higher than they've ever been before. We believe it is extremely important that every single Guyanese, regardless of their ethnicity, must feel that they are included and they will participate equally in the benefits that will arise out of Guyana's oil belt. And we believe that that gives coalition government an extra value going forward. So we are desirous of forming a coalition. We have made that very, very clear with the APNU. We have made that very clear, and we are saying to you today that we feel that that is the best option for
Thank you very much, Dominic Gaskin. So now we can take your questions. Please identify yourself and your agency. Sorry, we have a call right in front.
I will go to seniority.
Oh, seniority,
Okay.
Dennis, you're
Dennis?
senior counsel.
Yes. That sounds better than old.
Minister, can you say why wasn't the extension contemplated before the actual provision of the letter by the GQ chairman to the president, rather than waiting until the nth moment post letter to even talk about the need for seeking an extension with the opposition?
The government has always wanted an extension since that ruling of the CCJ. But we're constantly hearing that indeed the opposition leader would not want to do it. And we think it is very timely now in view of the fact that the new date will be set, in view of the GCOM chairman saying that 20 February is when they will be ready, that we should make that public and as a party, and that the PVP and the opposition should go to Parliament to ensure that we get a two-thirds majority.
But apart from the public pronouncements by the PV, why did the coalition formally invite the opposition?
Because we were waiting on the elections date. We know that we have time enough here in relation to that issue. And so this is what is a requirement now under Article 167. So, Dominic, will I-
Yes, we have, I think, in a formal statement, already made the point that I think back in June, that we wanted to see the, I think, I can't remember how we put it, the immediate appointment of a new chairperson for GCOM, and a date announced for elections as early as possible, and an extension of the time by the National Assembly. So we did ask that before, but we cannot go to the National Assembly, table a motion to extend the 3-month period for an indefinite period of time. Had we asked for an extension up to, let's say, the 31st of December, before being advised by GCOM, what would have happened? We would still find ourselves in a bit of a dilemma. So we needed to hear from GCOM first.
But GCOM had already told the CCJ that at the then time they would have been ready by the 25th of December. And secondly, Mr. Gaskin, why do you think the opposition, will heed your call for an extension?
Well, it's not all called for an extension.
Or your
It
request.
just makes sense. If we know that an election can't be held before the end of February, why would we want to not grant a parliamentary extension and risk, the country being exposed to all sorts of, interpretations as to, the legality of a government and all of that? Why would we want to put ourselves in that position? Why would any responsible political party, knowing the circumstances, want to place our country in such an unfavorable position by not granting the extension based now on GCOM's earliest possible election date? That is our position.
I think we had one here.
Yes, this is for the ministers on the panel. Could you say whether either or both of you have made declarations on the Integrity Commission Act for the current year? And the second question is from Mr. Gaskin. You spoke about the AFC's commitment to constitutional reform. In 2016 report was submitted to government concerning with certain recommendations. One, are you proud of the actions or lack thereof that the government has taken with respect to those recommendations? And if you are still committed to the need to change existing legislation to allow for post-election coalitions, then why hasn't there been an attempt to bring legislation to effect that change? Those are the questions.
Well, I was concentrating on the one in relation to the Integrity Commission. Right, this year I haven't sent it in. But up to 2018 December, certainly my integrity declaration.
Why is that, sir?
Why?
Have you not made your the deadline
Well,
expired?
the deadline in relation to what?
The deadline expired in August 20, so why have you not made it?
In August 20, I generally send my declaration as they have been doing per annum, and that is the 2018 one. I will certainly, if there is a notification for the August deadline, I will certainly do the one for 2019.
Sir, it's passed.
What one?
Current year, it's expired.
The current year is expired?
Yes,
Well, okay.
just a couple weeks ago.
Okay, just a couple of weeks ago. But I have been doing it all the time since the Integrity Commission.
When some other people haven't.
Yeah. But thanks very much for that, and I have been notified that indeed that I'll have to, and I certainly will do it.
And Minister, you
Mine actually strangely is going in this afternoon, and that's only because I had to get some documents that I did not receive until yesterday. But I would like to add, as I have the opportunity, that I have written to the Integrity Commission now, one correspondence since last year, and one about 3 months ago, and I still haven't gotten a response. In fact, I also have a correspondence on issues regarding the operations of the Integrity Commission that I first wrote in 2012, and I still have not gotten a response, although I could show you I have acknowledgments to the letter. And I only raise that because it's something I feel very strongly about. I am more than happy to give my declaration, but I do feel that if, as a public citizen, you have responsibilities, then if you have questions and issues, that we should be afforded a response from the Integrity Commission to those concerns that you have. So I feel very strongly that I have never gotten a response to my questions, and most recently I also asked them some other questions, and up to now I haven't gotten a response.
on that point, if you may follow up, the commissioner has, the chairman of the commission has said that a lack of financing has constrained the operation of the commission and has prevented it from doing certain things that they're mandated by law to do. What is the AFC's position on one, perhaps elevating the commission to a constitutional body and allowing that commission to have financial independence in the same manner as other, given the nature of the commission, in financial independence in the same way as other commissions?
Well, I'd like to answer two ways. I want to answer first in my particular capacity and say the kinds of questions that I have asked should be policy issues for the Integrity Commission. And therefore, if they can write me a letter and say that we acknowledge receipt of your letter, they certainly can add the 3 paragraphs and answer the question. I don't think in my particular situation it's a matter of funding. But in terms of the funding aspect, I'd love to ask my colleague in terms of it becoming a constitutional commission.
I think we will have to urge that that it goes there as a constitutional agency. Right now, it's a statutory body, but in any event, we know that there will be the requirement for larger amounts of personnel to make it as more workable the way that the question has been asked. Up until now, that has not been done, but we are in a position better to do that when we come out of this interim caretaker status and win the next election.
Yes, thank you for your question. On the issue of constitutional reform, I believe one of the first things that was done after our government was formed was the setting up of a committee which examined the process required and examined the Constitution and came back to government with some recommendations. Following a discussion on that, it was agreed that constitutional reform should be a process which involved widespread consultation. So the next thing that happened after that was the tabling of a bill in the National Assembly for the establishment of the Constitutional Reform Consultative Commission, I believe was the name. I might not have it exactly correct. And that bill was referred to the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Constitutional Reform. My understanding is that that committee has not been meeting to examine the bill and come back to Parliament with the recommendation. As you would know that, you asked why did we just amend the legislation? The legislation in question is the Constitution. It's not any ordinary piece of legislation. So we do need, it's a constitutional amendment that's required, which requires a two-thirds majority of votes in the National Assembly to pass.
So you're saying that this specific proposal had been one of the recommendations to these?
No, we haven't made, as a government, we haven't made proposals. We are speaking about a consultative process. That was what was recommended. During that consultative process, the AFC, among other stakeholders, will submit its own proposals. We can't just go and say, we have a few recommendations and call it constitutional reform and take into account the recommendations of all stakeholders, not just for the party.
When the select committee was operating in 2016, they did not meet with members of the various political parties to feel they didn't.
Not to my knowledge. The party either never convened or
It was
never
never
had a quorum.
Excuse me?
They never had a quorum. I believe there was a
Not the standing committee. I'm talking about the steering committee in 2016 that met and compiled a report which was submitted to government. Did that committee meet with any member of the AFC to feel your recommendations on what changes should be made?
No. That was not its term of reference.
Okay. That's my final question, but since Minister Patterson is here, I'd also like to extend the question to Minister Patterson as to whether he has made his declarations on the Integrity Commission Act.
Yes, sorry. It's just strange, yes.
You have?
Yes, but there continues to be requests for more.
More information?
Yes,
Okay.
and it is a hard, strange, I can say personally, it is a strange requirement to fulfill. Because the 30th of June, so if you, unless you print your journals on at midnight on the 30th of June, you're in default. So that was.
So perhaps you think there's a need for a change in?
I think everybody.
Fiscal year.
Yes, everybody.
That is what I have been doing all along, and they've
They
accommodated
did
us.
that before, so they probably so.
There's been a convention now that you make sure that you declare your 2018 in the year 2019, and then in 2020 the year 2019. So that is what I'll do, because you get all these documents from the Parliament and the Ministry as to your salary and the banks at the end of the year.
Evaluations.
So, in any event,
But
I don't think I'll go to jail for that.
Yeah, I think submissions is what, but it's hard because they send you back to say prove that this is they want to figure on the 30th of June.
Yeah.
And you get a statement from the 5th of July. But
Thank you, sir.
But we are adhering to the call that we must declare all our assets. And the Alliance for Change has made it very clear to all its parliamentarians and whichever the act applies to, please deliver up.
Nothing to hide.
We have nothing to hide.
Any other questions? Sorry, where?
Again,
Yeah.
can you give us an update on the toxin the review process of the toxin?
it's ongoing. It's ongoing.
How many times have you guys met?
3 or 4 times.
Oh.
4 times. 3 or 4 times. Let me not. So more. Yeah.
Not more than 4 times.
Not more than 4 times. That'd be absolutely fine.
can you give us any details as to how the talks are progressing? Any areas you can share with us?
Oh, well, I mean, it's progressing smoothly and satisfactorily. We've given ourselves we stated a timeline to we would like to
Well on
complete
track
it.
to making that timeline?
Well, we're working towards a timeline. I mean, so we have, but we obviously have our position. Our position has always been known and stated that I change. We would have submitted it officially and we would talk to everyone.
This question perhaps for Mr. President. Yesterday you found yourself in the midst of an event. Could you speak to us as to what happened there and how you feel about what happened?
Yeah.
Look, yesterday, my office is in Rice Lane, so I chose, as I normally do, quite informally, I chose to walk over to the back, which I normally would do for rather than try less than 20, 30 seconds of walking. So I went there. I saw there was a small group of protesters from MAVM, or the movement against parking meters, now morphing. So I engaged them. I then spoke to one of the senior ranks and I inquired of him which gate are we supposed to use, and she, the lady, indicated the gate straight ahead. And I went there to the gate. Of course, when I got there, the rank, the officer said that the gate was locked. And obviously, the supporters of the PPP who were there. Even let me backtrack a bit because when I was going into office in the morning, I recognized the police were present there. I saw several buses from Burpees, Globespan, High Club, on all of this. I recognized it all, and that was what
I didn't know the buses were from those places.
I think it's back on it. Come on, there's a route, there's a zone.
I just want
No, so it's a zone on it, you know what I mean? So, and that is what caught my eye. That is so that's something wrote in all my eye. And that's what caught my eye initially because they were there and they were like two trucks, I think, that used the the bicycle truck. No, I would take that back. The trucks that are used to
carry
sugar trucking workers, yeah? And they were parked along the seawall. So that's called the route I take the seawalls. Which Young Street was locked down. Anyways, I recognized it would be a traffic like that one of the reasons we were to. When I got to the front gate and it's locked, the officer said, well, you have to use it. He said, no problem at all. I think the PP supporters recognized me, and obviously you can see one thing. I will acknowledge I didn't make any formal complaints, but I saw who did it, including a female MP that actually did chuck you or punch you. But I said, oh, that's all. I know they're trying to poke me to get a reaction, so that it's all on there.
The president has described what happened in the school. Did you at any time threaten?
Yes. No, the behavior was threatening, but not me being threatened. I made a stronger method than that. I wasn't threatened at all. I walked through calmly, didn't react. I know that they've been provoked to make a reaction, so for their propaganda purposes, they cut the face just the reaction and say thought that you're evil and label it as us attacking peaceful protesters. There's one particular one, this infamous young man, infamous person that was quite vociferous and shouting and stuff. But I didn't take that on. I made my way to the event and the event. So that is
The PPP indicated that they'll continue to do this. What would you like to see happen to possibly curb?
Look, protest is a normal part of democracy. Right? So I mean, and I would always say that nothing wrong with protesting. I just hope that the persons protesting, remember, they also have to act responsibly. They should not provoke persons or those things like that. The president has stated, though I saw the release, that we will not tolerate hooliganism. And I think that's what I want to say. So you can protest all you want, you know what I mean, and I can protest you, and you can protest me, but you have to be there.
Do you think that the GMSA might have been involved in the actual protesting?
No, I don't think the GMSA will be involved. Look, it is not. When I got into the room, I was like the fourth or fifth person inside the dining room. And about 5 minutes or 6 minutes later, I saw the opposition members coming. So I immediately suspected that the young lady was trying to shepherd them to a table, them sitting in accommodation. He said no, they wanted to run by where they were. I immediately signaled to the president's his persons that look, these are what the guys are going to do. Right? So it wasn't unexpected. That's their motive, done it already in those things. And it was not unexpected, but it's set up. It is a democracy. I think I indicated to the GMSA already that these guys are going to do that. Of course, they had they tucked in their shirts, the placards in the shirts and stuff like that. So it wasn't a question of if we were unaware of that. That's what we were doing. I mean, when you see a table with some of the most likely comrades and Juan and Jill and Darren Lal and those people sitting down at one table, you know what is about.
I think that what is important to note, David Patterson might not have felt threatened, but they certainly were women and two female ministers that felt very threatened. I regret for the GSMA because there are individuals that bought tickets to support that event. I'm aware of 4 persons that could not even get in. So they ended up going back and of course would be returning the ticket. But at the end of the day, I think what's important is that we all recognize how important the next election is going to be. We understand the difficulty of the situation. And therefore, I think it's sad that we're not all attempting to set a proper standard, a mode of behavior. So yes, you can protest, but banging on people's car doors, on the windshield, grabbing somebody walking by is unacceptable behavior. And we may think that at a certain level, you don't intend necessarily for harm to come from it, but imagine you are setting an example to many other people that may then assume that this is acceptable behavior. And we certainly don't want to be saying that if you're in a bus park and somebody is protesting, and somebody else walks by, that you then have a right to scramble them or anything like that. That is sheer lawlessness and will take us down a road that will be very sad and it's very unacceptable. Guyana has a lot going for it now. We need to go and do this election in a safe and responsible manner, and everybody must be able to endorse the results of the election. And that's why we've been waiting all this time for GCOM to say when they're ready, because when GCOM says they are ready, they must make sure that they have everything in place, that we are confident in the process and it's a credible election.
Minister, just to follow on that note, have you gotten any indication when the president may in fact announce an election date?
No. No. That's
An exclusive preserve of the president, now that he has been given the letter from the
But it
GCOM.
was discussed yesterday.
Yeah.
There was no cabinet meeting yesterday, as far as I am aware. The president did meet a couple of ministers, and we're going to meet as a cabinet, I understand, on Tuesday.
Can I ask if there are any other questions?
Just for Minister Patterson, the verbiage which company
has responded to your claim that they refused financial support for maintenance work. They said something along the lines of the money was not enough, insinuating that they might need more. Are you open to providing additional financial support?
Look, good question, and I'm glad that you broached the topic. There are 39 pontoons on the Burpees Bridge. And to replace a pontoon, and obviously, and the cycle is, I think, 3 to 5 years, you're supposed to replace pontoon. To replace pontoon, what you actually have jack it up, jack up the bridge, put in a replacement pontoon, take out the defective one, carry it out, yard, weld it, whatever it is that needs to do, service it, bring it back, and put in the original, take out the replacement pontoon. And that is exactly what we budgeted for, but you can't take off all 39 pontoons. The Burbage Bridge, and I've go on record now again, the Burbage Bridge has indicated when I made that statement that they have, and they're on record, you can provide the information, or you can look at they said that they have a jack-up barge, which is a barge that goes underneath the bridge, jacks it up, pulls out pull out the effective pontoon. It said to me there are two types of pontoons, there are large and small ones, that they have one large pontoon as a replacement. And that was the basis on which I put in the $120 million. Because obviously, time-wise, you can't take out all we reckon we approach. We can only do 6 per year. And then obviously next year you do another 6 and you get recycled. That's how it's done at the Demerara Harbour Bridge. You can't do all the Demerara Bridge at 140, so you can't do all the same year. So it's a continuous process. But they have just written me this week to say that the Jacobite is not working, it's not operable. I don't know the status of the one pontoon that they have. And they've now written to me to say to me that they have, this is despite being on record to say that this is what they have and they have a plan to improve. They've now written to me on Monday saying that they interpret my statement, my letter to them, saying that the government will do all repairs to the costs associated with the servicing the pontoon, which includes now apparently also going to hire or using our jack-up barge from them to help them out, even though they've said that they have one. So the real thing is that we had always catered for a continuous process. They themselves, the Burbage Bridge themselves, provided us with quotations, and I would share them with you because I felt this back and forth, which says that what they have to do is take the barges out. There's no dry docking in Burbage. You have to float it around, and they receive quotations from EC and GNIC. So when you take these pontoons out, you have to carry it up the Burbage River, down the Demerara River by the tug, carry them, dry dock them, turn them over, fix them, retrofit them, then carry them all the way back up, and then replace them. That process, we estimate you can only do 6 of those per year. And that is why I've been saying I'm very, very, I was concerned for the maintenance because of the 6 out of 39. They've been there since 2006. I admit I said 2008. My records now show 2006. Those pontoons have been there. So the short answer to the question is a continuous process, just like the Demerara Harbour Bridge. You do 6, or if you do better, if you can get 7 in a year, and then until you run all, you finish all 39, and you start the process all over. It continues every continuous cycle.
Okay, my second question, Mr. Patterson. By the time we have elections, this government will just about have lived out its term entirely. And a huge issue has been the issue of blackouts. This government has failed to deliver on its promise to end blackouts in this term. Let's put aside for a second the fact that there are plans for a gas plant, because it'll be there regardless of who wins. Why should people trust you as the minister under which that agency falls to fix that problem?
Well, because we are working on it. The issue that I've been saying up north, is not really is the issue of the status of the structure which we inherited. It is decrepit, it's old, it needs replacing. It's poorly planned, and obviously and it was all very short and temporarily and short-sighted, a temporary quick fix. I mean, and I repeat once again that, like, say, along the embankment, there are 5 high tension different lines running there. 5. Well, in theory, you're supposed to have 1. And therefore, as is our want, if something happens to one pole, it takes the entire system down. We've already started the process of we putting redundancy and those things like that in place. And it's not, there is no quick fix for something this important, nor difficult and technically challenging. But as you note on the PUUP, we've installed new lines. We've had opening right now. There is a bid for new substation by Spire. We have already started installing new high tension redundancy lines. Therefore, obviously, try to bring additional lines into Sapphire. We've lost the submarine cable. We installed 2 new submarine cables. So we are addressing it progressively. The issues progressively. So yeah, we addressing the issue progressively. I know it is a frustrating thing, but from the status in which we found it to what it is now, it has improved. I mean, of course, every blackout is annoying to the consumer, but literally we are improving day on day.
Any other questions?
Just one more. If you could tell us about the suspension of air bridges at CGIA.
They are there. The air bridges are, and at least I know 2 of them. The question was not. It's not a question of the air bridges, say, or of course the air bridges. It's a question of the Chinese contractor and his his warranties came to an end, or he had to review his warranty. One of the issues he says that was claimed in the units with his warranty is that now that we are in this quote unquote warmer weather, there was some rotting underneath the air bridges. He set out and we decided that what we should do is put a quick fix on it. Ensure rotting means that when you go on the asphalt concrete, you see a track. And any little movement, obviously, we consider could be dangerous. So what we've done is stabilize it, and we stabilize two bases. You have to stabilize shortly. So right now there are two working, and we stabilize over the weekend. The other 2.
So by Monday, everything.
I don't want to say so because we're in August. Yesterday or day before yesterday, we had almost 4 inches of rain. It's supposed to be one of the driest years in the year. But the rain patterns, I know climate change or what. If you say August and then tomorrow, I think we got it. You're right, midweek.
Okay, we're going to take 2 final questions. Dennis, and then one in front here.
Mr. Ramstein, could you say what you regard as the preferred role of the president in determining the climate when it's running late, although it's not a constitutional provision, and in terms of the determination and the number of ministers coming from the coalition party?
I'll take that because
yes, I think the person's the spokesman on the issue.
So I'll take that. I mean, as before, it's not rightly said that it's not constitutional. It's an agreement between political parties, and as we did before.
But that doesn't make it unconstitutional.
No, right, yeah. So I think he's very well aware of that. As we did before, we had an agreement which was honored, and we do expect that going forward, whatever we're going to have will be honored. Whatever we're going to do will be constitutional.
But can you confirm that there is resistance coming from the APNU?
No, I can't confirm that. I know there is a Thomasburg negotiation.
But are you denying that there is resistance?
Of course. We are in a conversation between AP and you. Our position is on the table. Their position is on the table, and we are in discussion.
And what is your position?
You know our position. You read the comment.
We have a question here.
Minister, at the last press conference, I asked you about the completion date for CGI, the works being done there. November, it's going to make what, 8 years? When is it going to end?
No, in November would be, well, I mean, that's a really good question. November would be 8 years. Yes, November the 11th is when they sign the contract and start working. The 5 years after, it was suspended. So the actual construction period is not 8 years, but it's not 8 years and so forth. Look, as I said, contractually, the date remains the same. All penalties have been applied, are being applied. And obviously, when and that is the position, I mean, every day, what the effects are. Every day is not officially in the government, it costs 7,000 for the contract.
Okay, I think that's it. So thank you very much for joining us and have a good weekend.